Hey, brother, how you doing, man? We're live.
Hey,
You
pretty
had an
good, man. It's
outstanding week. So go ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead.
No. It's been an outstanding week. I'm over here drinking coffee, man, because I don't know what's going to happen from 1 minute to the next with this coaching staff and with this commitment situation and who's going to commit next and who's not going to commit next. I know me and you kind of wanted to touch bases first on this whole phase on situation, phase on Wilson situation, and I think it's crazy to think that there's fans out there that say he's not a take. When you go back and you look at the 2021 class, you go back and you look at the 2020 or the 2021, the 2020 class, and in the 2021 class, the best wide receiver you had based on the composite 247 was an 89.2 or 89.25, whatever the case may be. So to say, hey, we're not going to take a 4-star for whatever reason, maybe crazy, but I guess fans are spoiled after getting a Evan Stewart in an Armani Winfield, but your take on that, man.
No, absolutely, you're correct, man. So I have no idea. You probably have the deepest wide receiver core in 2022 without Faison at this point. But guess what? He's probably he brings an impact to your team that the others don't. He's 6'4", 210 pounds. Can elevate, get to the football, play the boundary. Just an absolute phenomenal receiver, like you said. Outranks every receiver in the 2021 class. So why wouldn't you be happy to have him? He has a great relationship with the quarterback, Malik Murphy, that's coming in. If you saw that picture that we kind of shot out on Twitter, with those three guys that we currently have, and probably two more in the fold, no doubt the deepest wide receiver core in the 2022 class. And I guarantee you,
I look at it like this.
Administration couldn't pull that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I look at it like this. Faison Wilson's 6'4", 210-pound guy. Yeah, 6'4", 210-pound guy. And I actually went back and looked at the tight ends that we had, sent out offers to, which we're going to kind of talk about the offer sheet tonight, who they've offered since obviously the new coach staff has been on campus. Talk a little bit about roster management and where we see the wide receiver core going. What our thoughts on obviously the trenches. Where the defensive commitments at this particular point, and where do we see this class maybe being assembled as far as time frame goes. And it may be a scurry for scholarships, sooner than later. And I think everybody's trying to jump in the boat. Me and you both talk about that. I think they're trying to jump in the boat as fast as they can at this particular point because they don't want to miss out on having an opportunity to join this hashtag 22 effect 22 or 22 effect. So, if you look at the, and I have it pulled up here, if you look, Faison Wilson's size, and then you go kind of look at currently what our tight end, who we've offered from a tight end aspect, you're talking about an individual on January 26, 2021, in Jaleel Skinner, another guy, Holden Stace, Oscar Dale, Rashad McKenzie, and then we also offered Jason Llewellyn, who just recently committed to Oklahoma. And if you look at the size of those guys, they're somewhere between really about 6'3", 6'3" to 6'5", and somewhere between really 220, 230 pounds. So maybe looking at, Faison Wilson, maybe is a flex tight end, a flex guy, which could be possible.
Definitely can. Yeah.
Absolutely. So who do you take, man?
Like
wide receiver. Finish out this wide receiver. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Oh, Keon Coleman is my guy, and CJ Williams out of California. But 6 is a big number, man. Like after Faison commits, we feel like Faison's going to commit and be the fourth guy. Then you got Keon Coleman out of St. Louis, Missouri, and then CJ Williams out of California. 6 is a big number, especially when the guy who runs your program said the 15 scholarship wide receivers was a big number when he walked in. But we talked about it. You may lose guys by attrition. You may lose guys to the defensive side of the ball. That's what you got to look at. You got to look at how you can service these guys who are not going to play wide receiver into another position that'll help your football team. Other than that, they're probably going to have to transfer. But I'm appreciative of the group that we have. It's probably the deepest group we've had since, at least Roy Williams, Sloan Thomas, and the kid B.J. Johnson at a Sasquatch Prairie. the deepest group of receivers probably since the early 2000s. And you're not going to shoot these guys away. You're not going to ask Faison Wilson to go somewhere else if he's the 30th best receiver in the country. If he's a top 200 player, you're not going to ask him to go somewhere else. You're not. But happy with it.
Really yeah, we did a commitment corner on Faison, in the summertime, obviously after he committed to University of Texas, and then obviously the coaching staff changes, and then we change, can change coaches, and he has an opportunity. That's the funny thing about wide receivers, man, is that they haven't offered any new wide receivers since they've been on the 40 acres. So we don't know what they reoffered versus who they offered. You can only kind of guess on who they've reoffered based on the fact that they've really have, if you look at the wide receivers currently and who they offered as far as wide receivers go in this 2022 class, I can say that the same guys that Tom Herman, guys that Starr offered when he got here. But the problem is you don't know who these reoffers are unless they come out publicly and say they were reoffered by the coaching staff. So you're looking at, Caleb Burton, McMillan out of California, Kevin Coleman out of Missouri, CJ Williams out of, Santa Ana, California, obviously plays at Mater Dei there. Evan Stewart, who just committed today, Shetron from Oklahoma, who's currently an Oklahoma commit. Caleb Burton was an Ohio State commit. Once thought he was going to be a lean to Texas when yours was here. Not the case anymore. But they really haven't offered anybody outside of who the original coaching staff offered. If you go back and look at the recent offers, which we did, and we'll kind of go down those as we do this. You're talking about, and we can kind of start with really the running backs, but so we wanted to talk about the deepest wide receiver core room. I think we talked about that in Faison Wilson and taking him as a take. Him may be, really a tight end flex guy in Sark's offense. And then we talk about the trenches. I can tell you, if you go back and look at the offers that have went out since they got here, obviously offensive tackle and offensive guard have been a big push. And I think they're probably going to take, if you're looking at probably roster management and what they weren't able to get in the 2021 class, I'm thinking probably a take for offensive linemen is somewhere between probably 5 and 7. Probably interior. Yeah.
To me, it's 7.
7?
To me, at this point, it's 7. I feel like you have the ability to get a lot of great offensive linemen within the state of Texas, and you can probably reach out. So we really didn't touch on where is the D, but we can roll with what you've got is your concept of, hey, here's where we're at currently, and here's where we're going with the running backs who we currently have in the fold, who we've reoffered, and if we think we have a chance to get them. And then at some point, we'll as we transition to the defense, and is this class going to get settled by May? We'll get there too. So
yeah. So if you look at the running backs, obviously they offered Raleek Brown, who's currently an Oklahoma commit. Offered Jadon Blue February 2nd. Obviously, it was a reoffer. From the current staff. Again, it was made public. Who committed to the Texas Longhorns, and then they obviously they've offered Le'Veon Moss and Trevante Citizen and Zach Evans. Who Zach Evans looks like he's a Notre Dame. He's got some crystal balls to Notre Dame, so he looks like he's a Notre Dame lean at this particular point.
But there's a couple of guys, currently that we haven't talked about who we really, really like. Jish Harris from Pilot Point, and then the kid Brendan Thompson out of Spearman. So guys that Clint talked about and guys that we currently have that we think we may have offers to. Brendan Thompson out of Spearman, and again, the kid out of Pilot Point, Jish Harris, is another running back opportunity. But are we going to go there? Like we don't know that at this point. But you got Bijan Robinson, Roschon Johnson. You just got Jaden Blue. You have the grad transfer, Gabe Watson. You have a multitude of players at the running back position. Are you going to grab a second scholarship or give a second scholarship to a running back? At this point, we don't know. But what do you think about it, Clint?
Yeah. So as we go down here, it's not that we're missing out on people that have already been offered, who we think have been offered. This is people that they've offered outside of those that have already been offered by the University of Texas. So if you're looking at the kid out of El Paso, Texas, he's been offered. So more than likely, the coach staff's already reached out to him and said, "Hey, we're willing to keep your offer out there," but it hasn't been publicly known, and it's hard to tell on 247 because they don't go back and say, "Well, Texas with a new coaching staff, let's go ahead and race the board and only really show the guys that we know they've offered publicly." So it's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about specifically who they've offered since they've been on the 40 acres outside of who we think they've offered. And again, like guys like Miller, guys like Jones, all those guys are still in the fold. It's just that they haven't been publicly offered by the University of Texas. Re-offered.
And so what Clint's trying to do and what we're trying to do is set up the board for 2022 and 2023 off what we know. Not what we anticipate or what we thought from the previous administration, but what we currently know via Twitter, what we know via 24/7, what we know via the administration, the current administration. What we're trying to do is reset that board, try to figure out how many scholarships are going to go to each position, who those players may or may not be, because this class, this group of coaches has shown that if they go after you, you have to give a hard, long look at coming to the University of Texas. But that's what we're trying to do here. Yeah,
so Tavares Jones would definitely be a take. I think they're going to take another running back in this class. I think they missed out on their second running back in the 2021 class. So I think this is a 2 running back class. I think they can take their time when they're trying to figure out who they want as that second running back, because they have Jadon Blue and he came in as a commitment so fast and he's so solid at this particular point, recruiting everybody else.
It's so good.
I just think that you don't have to rush your second running back commit. I think you could take your time, look at maybe even get into the senior film really with these guys and make sure that they're a take before you actually have another running back commit. So at this particular point, I don't think there's not really any hurry to take that second running back.
Agreed.
And then going down to obviously wide receivers, which we've talked at ad nauseum. I think it's going to be where you're currently at with Armani Winfield, where you're currently with Evan Stewart. It looks like that Faison Wilson may be committing, who would be another third wide receiver. I think you're only going to take the most five wide receivers in this class. To me, I'm a big Kevin Coleman guy. But if Malik Murphy could get CJ Williams in the fold, that's another opportunity. And then Jeremy was talking about Brennan Thompson, who is currently considered an athlete. To me, he's a wide receiver take as well. One of those guys that's more like a Whittington or a Jake Smith.
Evan Stewart.
Yeah, I think he's a take as well. Yeah, I definitely think he's a take as well. But if you're looking at 3 wide receivers that are currently probably at the top of the board as far as wide receiver goes, I'm going to put Kevin Coleman, CJ Williams, and Brennan Thompson at the top of that board. Jeremy talked about Ish Harris a little bit. If y'all haven't had an opportunity to go watch his film, to me, he's going to be a defensive take in this class. He's an athlete out of Pilot Point, Texas. Me and Jeremy actually went and watched him, and we comped him to, ready for this, DeMarvion Overshown. 6'4", 190 pounds out of Pilot Point, Texas, plays at a small school like DeMarvion Overshown, plays running back for his high school, but also plays safety for his high school. And I see him playing, me and Jeremy were talking about it, putting, 30 pounds on him and bringing him downhill like you would DeMarvion Overshown and Pete Kwiatkowski's offense. So
yeah, Clint's kind of stealing all the thunder, but let me go back to Ish Harris.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of put them side by side. Ish Harris 6'4", 190 out of Pilot Point. At the time, DeMarvion Overshown 6'4", 210 out of Art. Both 3A players. Both come downhill with ferocity. Like Clint said, I see Ish Harris as a possibility to be a safety in this program and probably drop down to linebacker. But how many safeties are you going to take? And we'll get to talking about Landon Hullaby versus Bryce Anderson versus Brian Allen. There's so many great players in Texas this year in certain positions groups, to include offensive line, which is probably the most position of need at this current point for the University of Texas. So, continue, brother.
Yeah, so Noah's talking about that too. Talking about Ish as a linebacker. To me, y'all have to go. If y'all have not watched that guy's film, man, he is right now he's sitting at, I think, a 3-star on 247's composite. Dude is a baller, man. The thing about it, he just plays at a small school like Marvin Overshown. He's number 344. So he's not way down there. He's 344th nationally, 89. So he's really on the precipice of becoming a 4-star, really 0.005 away from being a 4-star. But go watch his film, man. He is something else. Then I can tell you, Charles asked, what about CJ Williams makes you go wow? Can anyone answer? The thing that makes you go wow about CJ Williams is again, he's going to be a possession receiver. He's not going to be your Evan Stewarts. He's not going to be your Armani Winfields. He's not going to be those guys that you put on a bubble screen and they take it to the house type of guys. He's going to be a possession receiver that you have on one side of the field. Go ahead, Jeremy.
No, he's a Faison Wilson. So in my mind, in this current squad, if you just take the 2022 class, you would have Faison Wilson as your X receiver. You would have probably Evan Stewart as your H. If you go 5 wide and have another slot, you're probably going to have Armani Winfield, and then you're going to have CJ Williams on the outside. And if you go 5 wide in an empty set, then you're going to dump another slot receiver in there, and that's Coleman. So going left to right, it's probably going to be Faison, Winfield, Coleman, Stewart, and then CJ Williams for your other outside receiver. But if you go 5 wide with this class, man, with no running backs and empty set, you got a whole lot of matchup problems.
Yeah, look at this. At this particular point, I'm gonna keep it very simple, Charles. At this particular point, we can't be spoiled enough to the point where we can't take 5 4-star receivers that are on the cusp of getting a 5 point. Because Charles, if you're saying the same thing about CJ Williams, then you're going to have to go back and look at where Malik Murphy is based on projection alone, and you're going to have to call him a 2-star, 1-star, 3-star, whatever you want to call Malik Murphy, because a lot of this stuff is based on projections. Again, sophomore film playing in a league like where Matter Day plays, where they're playing against good defenses. It's hard to come in as a sophomore and play. You don't even see sophomores, very many sophomores playing the state of Texas at the upper levels. That's why on 247, if you go through 247's board right now for 2023 guys, 2022 guys, and all the way up until really 2021, you're not going to see a whole bunch of Texas guys in that 2023 because they just haven't had an opportunity to play. There's too many guys that are ahead of them that are too good. Outside of Great House and a few other guys in the state of Texas, they're not going to play. And I think that's what happens in California, especially in that private school class out there where they play those guys. I think you had another thought about CJ Williams.
No, not necessarily about CJ Williams, but if you go back and look at the 2021 class and you compare this group of receivers to the 2021 class, probably the lowest ranked receiver is going to outshine the 2021 class at this point, because there's a whole lot of growth for CJ Williams, who hasn't had a whole lot of snaps. There's a whole lot of growth for Faison Wilson, who hasn't had a whole lot of snaps. I would caution you to say that or just say, continue to keep this momentum. They're 4-star for a reason. The same reason why folks asked us today, how did these guys come up with it? And I don't know how they come up with it. But what I do know is ESPN 24/7 and Rivals have been doing this for a long time. We respect 24/7 and ESPN well above Rivals, but we trust our own eyes. We trust our own eyes when we're evaluating talent. And there's not a group, like I said to begin the show, I don't think there's going to be a deeper wide receiver class in 2022 other than the Texas Longhorns. If Faison Wilson is the last guy to come to the class, I still think it's the deepest one. Just my thoughts.
Hey, I appreciate you, Forrest Eldridge, $4.99 super chat there, and we swung by good old Chris Reyes. All gas, no brakes, two commits, more to come. Absolutely. It's crazy because you can't sleep. I seen the tweet earlier tonight, I think from Inside Texas guys, being they were like, you have to be on rotating shifts here. So I'm going to take the day shift. Jeremy will take the night shift tonight, and then we'll rotate it tomorrow. We'll rotate that tomorrow to see what happens. But yeah, I just don't want to come across. I think where we have to be careful as Texas fans is that, yeah, recruiting is back to being really, really good where you want it to be at, which is crazy. I think we have to be cautious of saying, hey, we don't want to take a a kid that's a 4-star, maybe a 5-star. We don't want to take another 4-star that we had committed to us before to another staff that now wants to commit to another staff. And we don't want him anymore because now we got a guy that's in the 97, 98s or like the top 10 in wide receivers. I think you got to be careful with that, man. And again, if Sark wants to take these guys, I trust that Sark knows what he's going to do with them on offense.
Absolutely. Like we talked about in many podcasts before, I think this group of coaches has a big board. And they're going to say, hey, we're going to take 1 to 2 quarterbacks. We're going to take 2 to 3 running backs. We're going to take 4 to 5 wide receivers. We're going to take 7 offensive linemen. They know how big this class needs to be, and they're going to only take the best. Like, I don't see this group of coaches as just offering just for the sake of offering. Every kid they've offered that we've gone back and looked at has been a 4 or 5-star recruit. So every kid you're going to get in this class is probably going to be a 4 or 5-star recruit. Travell Johnson currently is a 3-star. Like we said before, he'll be a 4-star by the time the season's over. And that's what I told Clint. I was like, at the rate at which they're committing, it's almost like an arms race. Is this class going to be settled by May? And where's the defense? At this point, we have 6 recruits, probably 6 by the end of the day, 7 by the end of tomorrow. At that point, it'll be probably 5 offensive and 2 defensive recruits. You guys kind of can feel and do know, because you follow like we do, who may commit tonight, who may commit tomorrow. But where's the trenches and where's the defense? And is this class going to be settled by May?
Yeah. There's a good question from Hookem Batiste here. He's talking about, do we risk losing Murphy now that the word is out? Texas still talking to Klubnik. Have we told Murphy? I think there's one thing about Sarkisian that is different than Tom Herman, and I think he is he's going to be honest with each one of these guys he talks to. You know what I'm saying? He said that, hey, he rounds it out. He says, okay, these are the 3 quarterbacks I'm looking at. These are the 3 quarterbacks I want. And I think he's honest with Murphy, and I think he's honest with Klubnik to say, hey, I want 2 quarterbacks in the same class. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I think if you're upfront and you're honest with these guys and say, hey, this is what we're trying to do, it's never going to backfire on you. What it backfires on you is if Sarkisian doesn't have those conversations with a Murphy and says, you're my only guy, but then, it comes back that Sarkisian's still trying to get a Klubnik or another quarterback, then it comes back and hurts you. But I think the way that Sarkisian does business, I can't see Sarkisian as open and honest as he is, and the way that he communicates with people and as personable as he is, that he's not already had those conversations with Klubnik or Murphy about trying to get 1 or more quarterbacks in this class. And I think that's what you have to do.
And I think these kids understand that at this point. If they look at social media like we look at social media, and they hear guys like us talking, they understand this coaching staff, this recruiting staff is going to leave no stone unturned. They're going to go coast to coast trying to get the best players, and that's why I said it was going to be an arms race. Like, I really believe that. And somebody said, you said, hey, you really believe they're going to get 7 offensive linemen? That'd be great, Jeremy. I'd love that. I don't know if that's the number, but they know what the number is, because guess what? They went back and they watched game film. They went back and they watched practice film, and they know how many guys they need in this 2022. And this is a big scholarship year. I feel like, what do we say they had? 20 commitments from the 21 class. All those guys get shuffled back because of COVID. But there were 4 additional scholarships that they didn't use in the 21 class. They could use towards the 2022 class if they didn't feel like grad transfers or transfers could fill those needs. So they know what the numbers are. I feel like they have a board that tells them, hey, these are the best athletes. But I really feel like these kids feel that if they don't jump on a scholarship really, really soon, that they're going to get passed up, because these guys aren't going to stop offering great kids.
All right, so I got to do this real quick, because Queen Bee, Show You Harris, Johnny Munoz, Gamers Life are all telling me, hey, if y'all, there's 123 people currently watching right now. If y'all wouldn't hit that like button, they want to get it over 100 before the end of the show, and we'd like to get it over 100 as well. Queen Bee from Twitter, I had to send her a DM to let her know we were doing the show tonight. I like to wave the flag for her. But hey, I'm going to kind of go back to this, man. I just hope everybody's kind of safe and warm and is doing as best as they possibly can after this rough week this week. It's one of those things where me and Jeremy just kind of kept in really in contact with each other, and but hopefully everybody's kind of safe and warm at this particular point. Hopefully they're getting everything that they currently need, and prayers go out to everyone in Texas. I know we're Texans, born and raised, so we know how strong Texans are. But hey, if you need help, reach out to someone and let them know you need help. to get through these troubling times, man. But prayers to definitely everyone. I want to make sure I say that.
Yeah, I want to hit up Wes Board because I think it's the first time we've ever seen him. He said, "I think Texas recruit the best and allow the best to compete against each other. That turns into NFL draft picks. Absolutely, iron sharpens iron. I don't know if we've seen you before, Wes. If this is your first time on our show, please hit that like, please hit that subscribe button. Please give us a hook 'em if it's your first time. But yes, that's what we've been begging for probably since we started this channel in June. Is let the best be the best on Saturday. Don't continue to roll walk-ons and guys out there. When Bijan Robinson is your best running back in August, he needs to be your best running back in September, October, November, December. And we've been asking for that. And I think that's why we felt like this group of recruiters, this group of coaches would probably come in with that ferocity of getting the best player. And guess what? If you're not the best player, guess what you're going to sit? Your thoughts?
Fastest. So Tracy Williams wants to know who the fastest out of me and you are.
He's probably the fast. Definitely the fastest. I'm the strongest.
Yeah. So if you ever seen us in person, if you ever get an opportunity to see us in person, you'll be able to tell the difference. Man, Jeremy's definitely bigger than Clint is. Definitely bigger than I am. But yeah, I would probably say I'm the quickest. Definitely the quickest. Probably fastest. We're probably pretty close. We're not very far apart from being the fastest. Probably the quickest. Quickest probably me. Off the line, probably the fastest, or quickest off the line. Getting around somebody, probably the quickest. So I would say quickest, but I would say I'm probably faster than Jeremy, but Jeremy's definitely bigger than I am. So it makes up for the speed.
Yeah, top end speed. Yeah, top end speed. Before I broke my neck, we probably close. Broke a couple of vertebrae in my neck in 09. Definitely the quickest off the line be Clint. Definitely quick twitch. He was a nose guard. He won't tell you this, but he's a nose guard. In junior high and a little bit in high school was as small as he was because he had quick twitch muscles to get between the tackle and the guard and get in the backfield. But definitely the quickest off the line. Top end speed, we're probably really, really close. But yeah, I'm like probably about 40, 50 pounds heavier than him, so probably a little bit stronger than him.
All right, let's
from our neck of the woods.
Yeah,
so
I've seen that.
Lancaster.
Yeah. Risen from Dallas, lives in Lancaster, Texas, and currently in Phoenix. With that being said, what are your thoughts regarding West Coast recruiting specifically with this staff? I think West Coast recruiting with the last staff was good. You go in there and you cherry pick the best guys out of Arizona. You went in and got guys from California. I think it's absolutely important to go out there. Do I think it's stronger now with the ties that you have all the way up the West Coast? From California all the way up to the Northwest up there. Absolutely. I think the ties are much stronger. Hell, I didn't realize that Jeff Banks was a punter for Washington State University. I didn't realize that until I read an article this week. So the ties are definitely there in the Washington area, in Washington all the way down to California. And I think, you go in there and you cherry pick guys like Ernest Green. You go in there and cherry pick guys like Malik Murphy. You go in there and cherry pick guys out like Damani Jackson or a CJ Williams, or the list goes on and on and on and on, man. And you just bring them to the 40 acres. You want championship caliber athletes like they're getting at Ohio State and Alabama's, where it doesn't matter if you're a 5-star, you behind you sit behind another 5-star because you know that 5-star is going to make you that much better moving forward.
And let's talk about guys like they offered in Virginia. Do we know they have connections to the guys, the Rices and the offensive tackles that they offered, the Gunnar Givens that they offered in Virginia? We don't know that. But guess what? They're starting to create those relationships and not gonna settle with, hey, I'd rather just hang out in this state and not go after the best. They're like I said, they're leaving no stone unturned. Gonna try to create those relationships where they can, offer those kids where they can, because on a happenstance, the kid's ever been to Austin, Texas, and loves the stadium and loves a particular degree path and falls in love with the state. If you didn't ask him, you won't never know, So I appreciate what they've done from, like you said, with the West Coast ties that they already had, but it's not stopping them from going to Virginia and offering these two great offensive tackles. And I think that's what makes them different from the last coaching staff. And like I said, I don't know if it was dictated by the head coach. I feel like if the assistant coaches like Andre Coleman and Stan Drayton would have had the opportunity, and I kind of want to think that the defensive side of the football would have done the same thing. continue to offer great kids and see where it lands you. Because again, if you're stuck with a bunch of 5 and 4 stars, you already had the 5th best blue chip ratio going into last year, and you found yourself in 7 and 3 because you made bad coaching decisions on the day of the game, and you continue to play probably not your best players when it was time to. So I don't think this coaching staff is going to fall into that same trap. I think they're going to play the best players. They're going to try to go recruit their best players, and we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it leads us. And that's why I think people are so fired up about this program at this current state, is because they could see the activity that they didn't see last January, last February.
Wes Beard not committed to Texas Football Talk on YouTube as of today. Laugh out loud, book them. Hey, welcome to the team, man. We got plenty of scholarships out there for anybody that wants to subscribe. We got unlimited scholarships out there. Okay, you just tell us what position you want to play, we'll get you on the field in that position. Okay, unlimited scholarships. So hey, welcome to the team, Wes. Appreciate you, man, listening to us. Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's what we probably should start calling it. A subscription to Texas Football Talk equals a scholarship. That's really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're looking at guys like Faison Wilson that maybe commit tonight. If you hadn't already committed, I probably need to get on Twitter. It's a big point and look. I'm pretty sure y'all let us know. So the game was, like I said, 31 more likes for this live stream. Let's get this channel more algorithm help. So yeah, y'all hit that like button. I think we're at 30 currently right now. Me and Jeremy forget it. We'll sit up here and start talking. I know G Fields asked if you had Joe Cav said, I'm walking on to Texas Football Talk. No, man, we got plenty. Preferred walk on here. He wants to be a preferred walk on. Joe Cav does. Cool. I'm good with it. Hey, they work hard, man. The walk-ons work really, really, really hard, man. These teams couldn't be where they're at without these walk-ons. G Fields says, what's y'all's opinion on McMillan? I don't know if you've watched any tape on McMillan yet. I can honestly say I have not.
No, me neither. Until I know the Texas has offered them, because it's so crazy right now with the offers they're sending out. The moment they send out an offer, we start working tape and writing notes about tape just in case they pop a commitment, so that we're ready when they do commit to give you guys the latest and greatest what we think about them. So I know he's big. I know he's a taller receiver. But again, I think he's similar to CJ Williams. He's just looking at his dimensions and what they said about him, what 247 said about him. I think he's likened to Faison Wilson, CJ Wilson, the CJ Williams. I'm sorry, the taller receivers in this class. I think he's 6'4",
6'3", 185.
Yeah, 6'3",
185. And there's not a lot of smoke. Once there's some smoke around players, like obviously Coleman and CJ Williams, that's kind of when we really dig into their really their huddle film, preparing them for really commitment corners. But we'll go back in and look at it and give you some thoughts on as we move forward. But I want to talk really quick. Obviously, trenches, man, offensive line recruiting. Currently, where we're at, where we're going. We had talked about probably taking. I think it's somewhere between 5 and 7. Jeremy's up on that sitting on that 7. I'm not closer to that 7. I'm probably looking at 6 people. I would say you're probably going to take 4 offensive tackles and probably 2 interior guys in this class. Don't think you need much of a center. I think that, and if you go back and look at who they've offered really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They've offered 8 offensive tackles, and they've offered 3 offensive guards. And those offensive guards, and again, these are newer offers. These are not older offers. Obviously, we know that they they're still in the mix with our defense or with our offensive tackles that they've had for a while in obviously Kelvin Banks and Cam Dewberry and Jalen Early and Jacob Sexton and all these guys. But they've offered 8 since they've been on campus. So obviously that's a big one. Obviously the 2 guys, the number 1 and 2 recruits out of Virginia, who Jeremy talked about earlier, Zach Rice and Gunnar Gibbons. Talking about a guy, Tyler Booker, that plays at IMG Academy. Kelvin Banks, I think, who is a can't miss in this class. And I'll give you some of my can't misses for these offensive line guys, especially in the state of Texas. Obviously a Will Campbell out of LSU. Another guy they offered would be Josh Connerly, out of Seattle, Washington. Has some Washington ties up there, and they went up there and they offered Josh Connerly, and then obviously Cam Dewberry. and so on and so forth, and a couple of other guys. Another guy out of IMT Academy in Florida, and then Quayshawn Sapp out of Georgia. To me, you're can't miss guys in the state of Texas with these, because you would love to get the Rices, you would love to get the Gunnar Givens, but to me, you can't miss guys out of the state of Texas. Is obviously the same one as going to be everybody else. Is going to probably be Cam Dewberry, your Banks, and
Devin Campbell.
And Devin Campbell. Those guys, man, are can't miss guys for us this cycle. We've sucked wind of the Alabamas and Ohio State's taking the Brockermeyers out of here, and Ohio State getting some really good offensive tackles out of here. It's imperative that we stay on top of these guys, and it feels like we've made some headway in those really where we're currently sitting at as far as those commits go, or recruits go. Jeremy's writing some stuff down over there.
Well, yeah, I just got 4 in state. To my class, because I don't know about Kelvin Banks, because everybody else is saying he's named him guy, is 4 in-state guys and 3 out-of-state guys. It's Dewberry, Hudson, of course, Devin Campbell, my number 1 guy, Robertson out of Austin Westlake, and then Rice, Ogbo, and Green. Ogbo and Green, and Rice being out of Virginia, Ogbo and Green being from the West Coast. And then again, my 4 in-state linemen would be Dewberry, Hudson, Campbell, and Robertson. But if we can get Kelvin Banks, dude, I would love that too. But those are my 7 guys that I think are attainable at this point. I really think Rice is attainable. I think Ogbo is attainable. I think Green is attainable. And then, of course, Robertson out of Austin, and then Dewberry, Hudson, and Campbell would round out my line.
Yeah, I think
I only think Banks is not attainable because other people are telling me that he's not. But if he comes to class, then I would definitely one of those guys would have to go that are probably out of state at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy because I actually was playing with not the crystal ball, but the calculator today, because I'm funny, because I'm trying to figure out what guys can commit to get to a point where you're sitting second in the class, really close to Ohio State, who has a phenomenal class at this particular point, obviously. And I was kind of playing with the numbers, and I was kind of, I don't want to jinx this or anything, but you're looking at like Harris's, the Campbells, the Andersons, and the Banks that would get you there. You know what I'm saying? And I think what's really good is that Kyle Flood, coming from Alabama, and what he's been able to do at Alabama, and then obviously the pros in Atlanta, has a bill of goods to sell these guys, which I think has put us in a whole nother ballpark with them. And I think like you said earlier, I think if one of these guys decides that they want to commit, 2 guys decide to commit, I think it puts the pressure on the other guys to say, oh goodness gracious, they only got 4 scholarships left that they're going to take for offensive linemen. Do I want to jump on the train? Do I want to go? I don't want to go. And I think that's important. I just don't know who the first one's going to land and when they're going to land. It sounds like Campbell is not really ready to make a decision yet. Do I think he's a Texas guy? Absolutely. Do I think he may be a silent Texas? I think so. I feel that way. Doesn't mean he is. I just don't know if he's going to commit anytime soon. And I think that's what we need to happen is really on the offensive line side of the ball. I think we just need to get one of these guys commit as soon as we can to move forward with this class. Because all the skill players are pretty and stuff. They really are. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Having a 5-star quarterback is really nice. But the offensive line is what counts, man. It really counts.
Yep. And where's the D? And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. They want me to get hired to recruit at UT. Dude, I just want to set up the big board. Like, I don't need to be hired to help out Lascock or Harris. All I want to do is help them set the big board and tell them what I see on tape and kind of fill it out for them. And they'll tell me, A, I agree with you, or B, to go to hell, essentially. But yeah, I would love to have an opportunity to do that.
That's a dream job.
Malik, I think Malik is, because that's what I do. That's what we do all day.
Yeah.
We see, not all day. We have jobs. You guys know we have full-time jobs, but when we see a Twitter post by a certain recruit, we go back and look at their film from probably freshman all the way up to as far as we can see it to kind of figure out where they're going to land, what they're going to do. But yeah, really appreciative of that. the ability to see it and understand it, for the most part. I got kind of sidetracked. Offensive defensive coordinator out of the two of us, Johnny Munoz wants to know. We're both defensive guys, man. Like, I feel like Clint would be a good secondary coach. I would be a good front seven coach. But if you pin this down, I think with I don't know. You say what you think you'd be better at, offense or defense. I know what you
obviously. I defense is what I love. Offense is taking over the game, and I think it as a defensive coordinator these days. I think if you're trying to change or you're trying to adapt or you'd like being able to I don't know what the word is. To defense is kind of where we're at. We know that it's not going to be 10-7 games anymore, which I like those.
Clint wants to make adjustments.
If I'm playing NCAA or yeah, I think if I'm playing NCAA or Madden, I'd like to spend more time trying to stop their offense versus me trying to score points, which is crazy, But that's just kind of who I am. I'm a defensive guy.
But Johnny, if you give me Malik, you give me Jaden Blue, you give me Armani Winfield, you give me Evan Stewart, you give me Faison Wilson, and that set of weapons with the offensive line that I just named you, I'll be an offensive coordinator for that group. I'll find a way to get the ball out of my quarterback's hands into their hands and make weapons be weapons, and we'll find a way to win the ball game. So I think to probably the best answer to your question is how would we make a best coaching staff between the two of us? I think me as an offensive coordinator, him as a defensive coordinator, because he's got the fire, desire to kick my ass on every single play or possession. And I think I can come up with schematics to kind of to get with them. So probably the best scenario would be me coaching offense and coaching defense.
David Williams said, yeah. So David Williams read today that Devin Campbell's timeline could move forward. That'd be a plus. My goodness gracious. I definitely think he's the most significant need, not only on offense, but the entire team. Me and Jeremy agree, dude. He is like the number one guy on the board. Like,
my favorite guys in this class are Anderson out of Beaumont Westbrook, the safety, and Devin Campbell. I'm kind of going to spoil my commitment corners if they ever. We hope they come to the University of Texas. We hope we got to do a commitment corner. But my favorite two guys out of this class are Devin Campbell and Bryce Anderson out of Beaumont Westbrook, the safety and the interior lineman.
Katie35 asked a question. I think you were going to answer it earlier. Right now, it feels like Malik. I don't know if it's Richard's question. I think it's a statement here. It says, right now, it feels like Malik is a better puller on recruits than Quinn is. I think that, and I think a lot of people will say this too. I think nationally, I think Malik is your guy just because of the West Coast ties. But he's also playing 7-on-7 with Texas guys in the state of Texas. Yep. So he's doing a lot of 7-on-7 stuff with the state of Texas. So I listened to an interview with him and Mike Roach on their podcast, the recruiting podcast they do on 247. Humble kid. Go listen to any of the interviews he does. He's really, really humble. And it's funny because Jaden Blue sent out a tweet today and says, I think another one's coming or something. And then Malik came behind him and says, who is it, Blue, or whatever the case may be, because he didn't know who was going to be committing. But to me, I think he has the bigger national pool when it comes to recruits than what Quinn Ewers did or does have with the state of Texas.
And that was 100% what I was going to say. Absolutely, 100%. He has a bigger pool with these kids, like you said, because he has the California connections and the fact that he's played 7-on-7 with a bunch of these guys. Absolutely.
Clint, we used to Todd in Orlando scheme, Timothy Wooten. I don't know, man. I'm more of a 4-down lineman type guy, man. I'm 4-down lineman. I'm more of a 4-3 than I'm a 3 or 4. But obviously, you got to adapt to wide receivers all over the field. So you're probably going to play in a nickel the entire time. I'm more of a bend-o break. I'm more of a bend-o break kind of defense defense coordinator anyway. I'm meant to drive the field.
I can tell you how Clint is. He's I'm gonna get you with my best 4. I'm gonna blitz a linebacker occasionally, but I'm gonna try to get you with my front 4, and I'm gonna try to screen it behind him. I'm gonna let his front 4 come. I'm gonna screen it behind him and get bubble screens, flare screens, quick hitters across the middle if I can to game plan against Clint's defense, because we're the same, man. Like I said, we don't want to use extra bodies to get to the quarterback if we don't have to. Yeah, definitely. But we're gonna show you everything. Again, that's why Pete Kwiatkowski's defense kind of intrigues us, because it's the first time we're going to see a 2 down lineman, four guys in the second level, but everybody can put their hand on the ground one given play to 2 guys putting their hand on the ground the next play. So very, very excited to see this defense, especially because of the athletes they have.
Chris Ash is my defense. Chris Ash would be my defense.
4 down linemen.
Yep.
Don't need a blitz.
Yep.
Can get there with my front 4. Allow my cornerbacks to play coverage and safeties over the top. But I think Pete Kwiatkowski may see that that's probably the best defense that he needs to run with this personnel. And you may see a 4-2-5 every possession. But down distance is always going to dictate how many down linemen you have, how many linebackers, and what kind of coverage you're going to play. But I really appreciate the compliments on being a linebacker coach, because I was supposed to be a linebacker if Todd Grimes would have had anything to do about it. So I was a wide receiver at DeSoto. My health teacher was Todd Grimes, who shoved a banana and a malt shake down my mouth every period of physical science class to try to make me a linebacker. So I appreciate that. The backwards hatch is because I got sloppy hair, man. My hair is probably as long as it's ever been since I joined the military, probably since 8th grade is what I told Clint today. And so we're going to wear the hat until I find a way to get a haircut. Of course, barbershops were closed this week because of, the elements that, the freeze that we had. I hope everybody's doing great out there, man. Everybody's safe. Everybody's through that. But, yeah, there's a reason why the backwards hat's on, because the hair would probably be sticking above that picture.
So we've got 140 people, 141 currently watching, 81 likes there. We're about 19 from hitting that magical 100 likes. So if you haven't hit that like button, please hit that like button. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to us. Happy Friday, Lando show. It's all good, man. It's all good. We're kind of just running around here, man. It was nice to actually, me and Jeremy have been talking about it. It's nice to actually, get out here and do this, with the way that the week went. Get out here and go through this message board and talk and so on and so forth. We'll talk a little bit about defense here, man, because you look at the offers that have gone out since January until now, it's really not a lot of offers on the defense side of the ball. Do you think they feel comfortable currently where they sit at as far as the defensive line goes, the secondary? I know linebacker, I think that currently right now, I think linebacker is probably, and I think that the Sarkisian's coming out and talk about it a little bit. I think that's his biggest worry, but he's coming in and kind of gotten a couple of grad transfers, being one out of maybe helping us out. I don't know. I was about to say the guy out of Alabama, but one out of LSU and the other one out of Notre Dame. But talking defensive side of the ball, man, of recruiting, where do you kind of feel we're at with that right now?
I feel fantastic currently with the current roster, and I feel like that's where Steve Sarkisian feels, is with an Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Moro Jomo, Marcus Bivich coming back, Devondre Sweat, Keandre Coburn. I think they felt like, and with Jordan Thomas, Harris, Jatavion Sanders, I think he's going to be a tight end. They may play him on defense. Maurice Blackwell. It never stopped with defensive players coming to this program over the last couple of years. Maybe it's because we couldn't recruit offense, because our head coach was also, by proxy, our offensive coordinator. But I feel really, really good on defense. What I think you need to shore up, again, is the safety position, because, again, you lost Chris Brown and Caden Stearns last year. You probably use a little cornerback help, probably use a little bit of inside linebacker help. But other than that, I feel really, really solid on defensive end at this point, or defensive line at this point. So, yeah, give me a couple of inside linebackers, probably 3 linebackers, probably give me 2 corners and a couple of safeties. I feel really good on defense.
Yeah, because if you go back and look at it, Jeremy, it's crazy, because if you look at the numbers of the 2021 class, because you can run down here, it's crazy. Jenny Coffey, Jameer Johnson, Derek Harris, Terrence Cooks, Juan Davis, I think is going to probably wind up being on the defensive side of the ball there at the University of Texas. And then you're talking about Jatavion Sanders, who obviously is going to be a two-way guy there, and they'll fight it out between Pete Kwiatkowski and we'll figure out who's going to win that battle. And then obviously Ibrahim and Jordan Thomas and Reek Blackwell and Byron Murphy and David Aviara and Baron Sorrell. And then bringing in transfers. Yeah, it was all defense in the 2021 class. So you think they're just going to go way heavy in this 2022 class with offense?
Again, I think you could sign a class of 27, right? And I think you got to give me 2 D linemen, 2 linebackers, 2 safeties, 2 corners. I would be happy with 8 out of 27 being defense at this point. Maybe give me, and I'll be really happy if you give me 17 offense and 10 defense. If I'm Pete Kwiatkowski, because I got an idea of who I have. Because like I said, unlike the last coaching staff, they've looked at practice film, they've looked at game film. The depth on the defense is although there's a lot of scholarships expended on the skill positions of the offense. I think they're really, that's why I think they're going to have 7 offensive linemen. If you give me 8 defense, 7 offensive linemen, that gives me 12 skill positions. That's a whole lot of skill position. And then I can kind of mix and match where I need to. But that's why I think the depth on defense allows you to sign 7 offensive linemen at this point.
You can actually go more than that at this particular point, because even if you sign 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 7 offensive tackle. I mean, 7. I'm gonna put them together. Obviously, offensive tackles, offensive guards. You're talking about offensive lineman total 7, and you sign 1 tight end, because that's what you're usually going to sign. You don't usually sign more than 1 tight end, especially with the number of tight ends we currently have on the roster. And if you went with 5 wide receivers in this class, you're looking at a total of 16. So right now you would have 11 defensive spots if you filled out, the defense with 11 spots. I'm just trying to figure out what those 11 spots would be. And you're talking about, you were talking about cornerback help?
No, 2 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, probably 3 safeties and 3 corners would get me to 10.
Yeah.
And then I could probably pick the best guy out of any of those position groups to get me to 11 or 12.
So 16. So you're looking at 16. You're really looking at 16 to 17 offensive guys in 11, maybe 10 to 11 defensive guys in this class.
Yeah,
and we're looking at the big board.
I would beg to get 10. Yep.
Big board. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because again, your 20 and 21 class were all defense. They were all defense. Collins, Broughton, that group was all defense. Last group was all defense. The Whittington, Smith, Bijan class was the last offensive class you had, and Bijan was a part of that class with Collins and Broughton. But again, he allows you a whole lot of wiggle room when you got him and Casey and Hudson. When your backfield is as young as they are, allows you to kind of go after those other position groups that'll make them great. Which gets me more fired up about this 2022 season, or 2021 season, because you understand what you have in the backfield in Casey Thompson and Bijan Robinson, because the guy up north already said it's probably the best, running back quarterback tandem in the country, and they're young. Casey has probably less than 50 snaps. Bijan has less than probably 200 snaps.
No, that's sad. Don't say that.
And, but it's true. They don't have any wear and tear on the body. The receivers can do what the receivers can do. It's all going to come down to offensive line, and defensive line, what we've always talked about.
Yeah, I think Trace Williams is bringing up a good point. I think you at this particular point, obviously in recruiting, you could probably leave 3 or 4 open spots too if you wanted to for graduate for transfers. Really not even graduate transfers at this particular point, but actually transfers, which I think is what kind of Sark is looking at in really filling out these classes, because he left 4 open for after the spring game to kind of figure out, obviously what's going to happen in losing guys. Or where you feel like the weakest spots are, and trying to go out there and get those grad transfers, or really those transfers from other schools, man, which I think is free agency at this particular point with a couple of those spots, man. But I think he nailed it. Man. I think you're looking at, however they come, 16 or 17, if some of those are used in transfers, it might be if you can find some good young, linemen that are prepared to come in and play from other places that have, 3 years, still of eligibility. Why not take them? Do I think you need to start, if you're doing that, I think you can limit the 1 year wasted eligibility guys, the transfer guys that are going to come in for a year. I don't think you'll see a lot of those anymore because I think you'll go for those guys that have multiple years of eligibility still left that will transfer into your program. But I think you're right with this 16, 17 term. I think you nailed it when you're talking about the big board. I mean, I think when you look at the end of this year, this 2022, I think you're going to see exactly what you're seeing here. And I think it's going to be 16 and 17 total offensive guys. And I think you're probably going to see somewhere between 9 and 11 defensive guys on that big board. I bet if you looked at the big board, now that we got, what's his name? Glasscock. That's the player personnel guy. Yeah. I think they're probably putting together the big board right now to kind of identify where they need to go. Yeah. Hopefully they're watching Texas football talk.
We did. We already sent it to them. But, hey, there's 145 guys in here, only 87 likes. We're about to get off here and let other guys do their stuff. I think Texas Homer has a good video coming out about the 21 class that he's going to put out here in just a second. So please support that. But hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Again, become a part of that family. Gather that scholarship. Grab that preferred walk-on slot. Become a part of our family. If you know there's Texas Longhorn fans out there that don't know about Texas Football Talk, please send them our way. We'd love to have them. Again, you guys know that we love the conversation. We love interacting because all we really desire to do when we start this channel was make this fan base more knowledgeable each and every Saturday when we go to DKR. Hopefully we get a chance to go to DKR next year. But yeah, exciting. Yep. He said he's going to drop it at 8:30. So maybe we'll talk for a little bit more. You see a couple of questions out here that you want to answer?
Let me see here. 8:30 Central Time. Can't wait for that video to come out. Texas Homer. I think the biggest thing for me is really just everybody's got a lot of good things. Man, Alfred Collins, we talked about that a little bit. You know, to me, if you're looking at Devin Campbell and you're looking at Alfred Collins, they're the same guys on opposite sides of the ball. Somebody was talking about Alfred Collins being a monster here. Devin Campbell, if you go back and look at his huddle film, he's just as athletic as, if not more athletic than Alfred Collins, just on the opposite side of the ball. Which is freakish, and that's why he's so important to this class. Because if you want to see a guy that's going to come in from day one and be able to start as an offensive lineman, which rarely happens, you don't want it to happen like that. But if there's a guy that can do it, I'm telling you, Devin Campbell is the guy, because he's if not more athletically freakish than Alfred Collins, which is crazy to think of.
If you go back and look at 247, and if he ever commits, I'm kind of going to spoil my thunder when I talk about Devin Campbell here, is he's comp to Zach Martin. And I know a lot of Longhorn fans are also Dallas Cowboy fans. You know that athleticism that Zach Martin has for the Cowboys. Just imagine that. Like I said, he races his own running backs to the goal line when there's nobody around. He is truly impressive. He plays basketball. He likens himself to a receiver. He said there's no offensive lineman or defensive lineman in the state of Texas who can cover me on routes. And if you ever watched Dallas Cowboy pregame shows, you saw that Zach Martin and Travis Frederick would throw pass routes to each other on air, trying to beat each other. So, yeah, he's a good kid out of Arlington, Texas, man. And I think he is the linchpin to this class. He's probably quieter than most guys, again, because he plays the offensive line, but an absolute juggernaut. Like I said, him and the kid Anderson out of Beaumont Westbrook, the safety, because I'm really impressed with his athletic ability. Again, he was a guy who played quarterback, who touched the ball in every play on offense, and then was asked to go on defense and play free safety. Anderson is a knockout on defense. I kind of liken him to Billy Bowman with the ball in his hands. Every time he touches the ball, special things happen both on offense and defense.
So Johnny Munoz is asking how many guys coming back on defense this upcoming season. And I want to say that you've lost obviously Brown, Stearns, Osai. We're talking specifically just straight starters.
Right, the only guys that committed to the NFL, because the guys that were seniors have an extra year of eligibility. So again, you're going to get Marcus Mimich back. You're going to get Ojomo back. You're going to get Taquan Graham. Taquan Graham's another one that's gone. TQ, Osai, in this. I'll walk across from the defensive line. I think TQ, Osai are gone off the front four. Off the linebacker core, you're not going to lose Juwan Mitchell. You're not going to lose the Marvin Overshown. Off the back end, you're going to lose your two safeties, Chris Brown and Caden Stearns. And I don't think you already lost Jalen Green to transfer. Who else did we lose to transfer? I know there was another one that we lost on the defense.
Xavier Alford, did you name him?
Xavier Alford. Xavier Alford.
Yep.
That was the other kid. Yep. But you're going to have Jarian Thompson back. You're going to have youth that we saw at the end of the season compete for those starting jobs on defense. But yeah, from the front four, TQ and Osai. From the middle, I don't think you're losing anybody. And then Chris Brown, Caden Stearns, Xavier Alford, and then Jalen Green, you lost to transfer.
And David Williams brings up a good point. And two of them we'll talk about real quick. He's talking about, obviously developing these guys in Aviara and Jordan Thomas, and then you won't have to go to the transfer portal and get guys. And I think that's very if you can develop your own guys that you recruit, then it limits the times that you have to go back to the transfer portal and get other guys to join your class. Absolutely. And I think from what you hear in every conversation that we hear and every conversation that you see and every article that you read is that this defensive coaches in the way that Pete Kwiatkowski does business, it's all about developing those players to get them to the NFL. They actually put out a really good story about the Dallas Cowboys and how they went into Boise State and got Lawrence and Crawford, and it was because Pete Kwiatkowski. So there's agents out there. I think that's one of the things you have to look at is that these agents and these NFL scouts and NFL front office guys, if they trust these defensive coordinators, that's going to play a bigger impact on what your NFL draft grades look like, what your NFL development players to the NFL, which is really, really important. The other thing is, he said I think Johnson needs to take a big leap this year. He came out as a near 5-star offensive lineman, out of Conroe, Texas. Out of Conroe, Texas a few years back, man. He needs to make that leap this year because I think him, like he's saying, at one guard and Campbell at the other guard, man, is a nasty combo. But I think injury and some other things have to do with that. But I think in development issues. So hopefully Kyle Flood can do something with Johnson this year, man, and we can get him some.
And I think PK came in and made that assessment. Go back to the defense real quick, and that's when he just said, I'm going to grab Thornton out of LSU, and I'm going to grab Obi out of Notre Dame, and I think I can build my defense with these kind of guys. Because the same article you're talking about, DeMarcus Lawrence and the defensive tackle from Dallas playing for Boise State. It stated in that article that he'd rather have 3 stars he could mold and develop and make 5 stars in draft picks versus grabbing a 5-star with a little bit of attitude and trying to develop him. He wants guys that he can mold, make. The guy we're not talking about currently, it has nothing to do with topic, just what I happen to see on the screen was Denver Harris, which is an absolute lockdown corner. Again, I talked about Bryce Anderson probably being my favorite secondary guy coming in. It's because of his flexibility. But Denver Harris is an absolute monster. Denver Harris and Devin Campbell are they're top 10 players in the country for a reason. But you don't hear much from I think it's Tyron Crawford. They're top 10 players for a reason. And guys that you definitely want to get in your program. And I really feel like they're 2 guys that aren't really looking for limelight either. You don't hear very much from Denver Harris. You don't hear very much from Devin Campbell. I think they're hungry kids who are looking to come in and make a mark for the University of Texas. I think this coaching staff is in a good spot where Texas has been down. And me and Clint talked about this beginning of last year's. Why are we so spoiled as a fan base? Like, we haven't won a conference title in so long. We haven't won a national championship since 2005. Why are we so spoiled as a fan base? Again, shouldn't be. They could sell, we want to be different. We're going to come in every day, and these kids can tell you, we read it, that those winter workouts were as tough as these kids have gone through in the 4 years they've been on campus before they got shut down for obvious reasons because of snow and ice. But
So I appreciate the Lando show and Candace, Queen Bee. Perry Rushing was asking, he's obviously new to the show. We appreciate you listening to us, Perry. Welcome to the family here. There's no question it's embarrassing. He was asking who we are. They nicely, told him, hey, their show is called Texas Football Talk. Follow on Twitter and IG. Clint and Jeremy are the hosts. Appreciate that, Queen Bee. Definitely appreciate that, Lando, for letting know who we are, and we appreciate you definitely listening to us. It's funny because I'm going to get back to this calculator real quick, and then we get off the air because we don't want to go too far into the hour. And plus, I think we plan on doing another show on Sunday. Hopefully, we have some more commitments between now and then. But when you're looking at the class calculator, I actually threw 4 names in there today that would get us to a number of, I think, 10, because we're currently where we sit at. And I'm gonna tell you that we are well over the 200 number if those dominoes were to fall. That makes sense? Which is crazy.
We're all taking notes. We're all taking notes.
Which is crazy to think of. So if you're Campbell and Harris, those guys drop like we think they're going to drop, and then you get into Bryce Anderson and a Kelvin Banks, which I think we have an opportunity for if you listen to some sites. You're looking at over 210 with 10 commitments. I think the most that we had was in the 2018 class was 301, and I think we had 27 guys, which is crazy to think of. So I think at this particular point, the way that it's going, and Jeremy said, hell, it may be a done deal, like going back to the Mac Brown days where it's you finish the class off in May and you're just waiting for guys to hold on until that early signing day and they sign. It could be the case, and I think we're closer to doing that than we are coming up to signing day and hoping that guys jump on board, which is a really, really good feeling for any fan base at this particular point. But I think you're looking at a top 3 class as we move forward with the guys that we currently have in and the guys that we currently have that we've offered, and I think we have a shot at moving forward. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, just a couple thoughts before we leave. Then is this coaching staff knows what their board looks like, so don't frown on those 4 stars that you think may go to a position of need that may be greater than what you think, because they have an idea of, again, how many scholarships they want to use at each position. So if you see a low 4-star, again, look at 21's class. There was many 3-stars in that class, and not to say that those guys can't be or turn into 5-stars similar to Samuel Cosby did, but take those 4-stars as they come. Continue to build your class, because again, if a 4-star is taken by the University of Texas, it's a good deal. You're not going to have a class filled for 5-stars. Again, there's only, by most recruiting services, there's only 35 stars per class. So those are going to be taken by the Alabamas, Georgias, ourselves, Ohio State, and probably the USC's and those guys. So we're probably going to get 2 or 3 as the season goes on. But don't crap on the 4-stars. Allow them to come. Again, kind of talking about the Faison Wilson situation that people are saying, hey, he decommitted from the University of Texas. Why are you going to take him back? Again, he decommitted from the last coaching staff, not this current coaching staff. Allow him to come to the University of Texas again. I think he brings another skill set. But no, continue to create momentum. And like Clint said earlier in the podcast, I think it's Oklahoma, A&M, and Texas continue to drop commits simultaneously to kind of grab the other guy's thunder. I don't think there's any thought to not doing that.
They're exactly what they're doing. It's exactly.
I think it's for a reason.
It's definitely for a reason.
Words, but I think it's for a reason.
Yeah, it's definitely. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's definitely it's on purpose. You know what I'm saying? I think it's like A&M drops one, Oklahoma drops one, Texas comes behind them and drops another one. I think that's the way the ball's going to roll from this particular point. But we're definitely in a good place, man. I think that currently where we're at, the train is moving. Guys are jumping on board, and it's going to continue to move forward. It's definitely a really good place to be. It's really exciting for a Texas fan to be sitting on Twitter and refreshing, and then all of a sudden you got these recruits that are saying, "Hey, we got another one's about to pop. We got another one's about to pop." Me and Jeremy trying to figure out what the hell Coach O was talking about last night. And then you got Hayes Boss on there talking about 5-star at 9 o'clock, but then he drops something at 8 o'clock, and then you wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and you damn Evan Stewart, who you thought was going to commit 2 weeks ago, decided to commit. By the way, if y'all are on TikTok, if you haven't been to his TikTok, dude's got 1.3 million followers on TikTok, which is crazy. So he's definitely a name, image, likeness guy. He's going to be a name, image, likeness guy at the University of Texas because he's already has it started. But hey, we definitely won't take too much more of y'all's time. We appreciate you getting on here with us on Friday night again. Prayers go out to all these, to all of us, all the Texans, that have gone through some rough stuff for the last week. Hopefully everybody's kind of safe and warm and got things they need. If not, you reach out to someone and let them know that you need something. Don't be hard-headed like most of us. Most hard-headed as most Texans are. Definitely prayers to Steve Noddy and his family. I just want to say that too, on the loss of his mother. So, definitely want to say that prayers go out to Steve and his family. But we appreciate y'all listening tonight. Again, hit that like button if you haven't hit that like button. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please hit that subscribe button. We're excited to be back on here tonight. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us on Twitter, TX Football Talk. If you want to follow us on Instagram, which we did our first Instagram live coffee with Jeremy and Clint this morning. We just tried it. It worked. I think we had 7 people on there at one particular point. So, hey, if you don't follow us on Instagram, and we could surprise you with coffee and Jeremy and Clint. So follow us on Instagram at Texas Football Talk on Instagram.
Might
and
do
on
it tomorrow if we get another
Facebook.
commit tonight.
Yeah, we get another commit tonight. We may be drinking coffee and talking about the commit tomorrow morning. So follow us on Instagram at Texas Football Talk and on Facebook at Texas Football Talk as well. We appreciate you listening as always. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And I think we're going to do a show maybe on Sunday. Y'all have a good night.
Yep.
Welcome.
Okay.